you, Dr. Mofid.
I need that.
You just keep me on track, right? I'll try to keep it under 10 minutes if we can. We live in some really exciting times, very challenging times, but quite exciting, particularly when it comes to technology and for information sharing. Dr. Yakunin yesterday made some references to this entire conference as being a conduit, a way of change, that right here we're having this dialogue, and this conference is a tool of that change. But it's stuck between the walls of these buildings and our face-to-face interactions here. But Dr. Mofid referenced earlier that the papers that are presented during this discussion, these are all going to be available online at some point. They'll be on a website somewhere. I'm not sure exactly how or exactly how long they'll be there or how you'll access them, but he's referenced that's a step toward extending this. Dr. Kamalapur made further references to perhaps we need to have a journal that can encompass all of these articles that are being presented, and we can use that journal to build some history and to start building upon generations of research. And that's what I really want to talk about today is really the nuts and bolts of how is that done? How do we build this sustainable storage place online where we can capture all of this information and share it and protect it for future generations so we can continue the dialogue well into the future. I'm going to talk about three main things today. One being a little bit of background about what's the current problem that exists with academic publishing. And I'll expand it to say it's not just academic publishing, but it's scholarly publishing in general. Any type of publications that might come from think tanks or from nonprofit organizations. But I'm going to focus in the higher education area because there's some really well-established peer review processes, and there's technology that can now really extend that. So we're going to talk about the problem, we're going to talk about a little bit about the solution. And then finally, I would like to connect it a little bit more to the environmental savings that extend beyond the face value of what it may appear. The problem that exists today is that scientific research it's in a really tumultuous, changing state of publication processes. The traditional paper versions that existed before, they still exist in many ways, but there are more and more online publications being presented all over the world. In fact, as of 2011, just last year, the International Serial Standard Numbering Organization that gives that ISSN number to identify electronic publications around the world, they identified more than 88,000 journals right now that are available in only online formats. There may not be a paper version of it anymore. So we have a tremendous amount of scientific research and energies going into publications that may no longer have any physical location. It's all out in the cloud at this point. And that can be tremendously empowering, reaching new markets and new people all over the world. But at the same time, what happens when you wake up one day and you can't find the article that existed yesterday because there's just no reference to it anymore? And that can happen. In fact, I know of one instance at a university where they had probably 10 years of journals and hundreds of articles that were there one day, and the next day they were gone. And fortunately, they were found. But the reason that they were lost was because they were just placed out in a rather haphazard manner that really stems from the evolution of the publishing process. It wasn't haphazard when it started, but it seems so more and more over time because the volume of information is just tremendous, hundreds of articles. And we need more stable storage systems to place these articles so that we can find references and we can continue to build on that scientific foundation that was left by our previous generations. So what's the solution to this whole process? There's actually a directory of open access online journals, and this directory lists at least 3 different open source versions of software that are available that we can plug academic information into and actually manage the entire peer review process in a really orderly fashion that's going to keep information stable for the long term. And when we have this stable source of information, it's searchable, the persistent links enable it to be shareable, through all the variety of social media outlets that exist, but most importantly, that it's organized in some fashion that is not dissimilar from other types of journals. It helps lend to the credibility of the process. And there are some, I guess, immediate environmental savings that you could see by publishing online. There's no more paper that we're using. We're not shipping heavy bound books and articles bound in volumes around the world to various libraries and then building buildings to maintain all this information. But I would say it goes beyond just the paper journal itself, but they're increasing studies that are showing tremendous environmental savings from the emissions of just the consumers of that data in classrooms. When we're going to digital classrooms and online learning, there's actually some research that's saying that there's actually significant changes and savings in the emissions. And the work that we do to build more stable online publication sources, we're not just helping to save paper of the journal anymore, but we're actually helping to really reduce the carbon footprints of the entire learning process and of the whole academic and scientific endeavor. So in the end, let's not just put information out on the internet in places where we're not sure where we're going to find it in next year come this time, but let's actually utilize some of the open source technologies and technologies that are built specifically for this purpose so that we can not lose an entire generation of scientific information.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cameron.
Many, many.